And joining us now to discuss is David Mencer, a spokesman for the Israeli government. David, welcome. Great to speak with you. To begin with, what is the Israeli government seeking in this meeting with the White House?
Stephanie, thank you very much for inviting me on. When all is said and done, I think it's safe to say, and most commentators and Middle East watchers know this, that the relationship between Israel and the US is absolutely unbreakable. And of course, the bipartisan nature of that relationship is extremely important to Israel. So yes, of course, we thought it was a mistake for the US to abstain at the vote in the United Nations Security Council, mainly for the primary reason of the results, which have been that the only people that really celebrated that vote were Iran and Hamas, the genocidal murderous organization of Hamas. Those were the only two groups that celebrated that vote.
Yes,
and of course, they are our enemies in Israel, but they're also the US enemies as well.
Yeah, and I wanted to look at this vote for a ceasefire. International pressure for a ceasefire seems to be building. What would be the impact, in your view, on the international community if a ceasefire were to somehow take effect?
Well, look, this war could end this afternoon if Hamas would release our hostages, 134 of them brutally snatched from us on the 7th of October. 35 or 36 of them we know, unfortunately, are no longer alive. Hamas has killed them. So if those hostages were released and Hamas laid down its arms, this war would end instantly this afternoon. But of course, we're not so naive to think that that will happen. The most important thing we want to share with the American people and really the entire globe is that there are 4 battalions of Hamas left in Rafah. 4 very important, the last 4 actually, 4 or 5 battalions left in Rafah, and we must go after them because, as Benny Gantz, our minister in the Security Cabinet, has made clear, you cannot put out 80% of a fire and then leave 20% of that fire still roaring, because eventually it will take hold again in all of Gaza. And Hamas have been very, very clear on this. Hamas say they want to do October the 7th again and again and again, which means we must destroy Hamas in Rafah. The last vestiges, we must get rid of them so that we can return to peace in the region.
And Hamas terrorists have been decidedly against the latest ceasefire proposal. So this vote for a ceasefire doesn't really involve them yet. But looking at the Biden administration, they've grown more vocal about minimizing civilian losses in Gaza. And considering this potential Rafah incursion, what can the Israeli government offer on that front in these talks?
Well, look, for 5 months, almost 5.5 months, the US and Israel were absolutely shoulder to shoulder on the battle to get rid of Hamas. And even today, we share the same objectives, which is, of course, to rid Gaza of Hamas and make sure that Hamas can no longer be a threat to our people, and of course to release the hostages. So what the US are looking for, you'll have to ask the US that, the US administration, but there are concerns about the humanitarian issues, and we've already displayed that we can get people, ordinary people, unconnected civilians out of harm's way and go after the terrorists. We've done it before and we can do it again. That is our objective, to move civilians out of harm's way and to get at the terrorists so that this calamity of the 7th of October, which Hamas says they would like to repeat again and again, can never happen again.
And just lastly, David, you mentioned that the bond between the U.S. and Israel remains strong. Do you think that this vote, this recent Security Council vote, has changed the dynamic between the two countries at all? And how could that potentially impact these talks?
Yes, of course, Stephanie. The relationship is the most important relationship, I think, to both countries. It is an unbreakable bond, and both leaders will readily admit that. But in the final analysis, the leader of the democratically elected leader of the state of Israel has the entire country, the 9 or 10 million people living here in Israel, has the entire country behind him. And they demand, and the Prime Minister also demands, that public security, the security of our people, is the first priority of any leader. We must get rid of Hamas from Gaza. It would be like, going all the way through Europe in the 1945 at the end of the Second World War, but deciding to just stop at the borders of Berlin and not to actually go for that total victory. We're going for total victory because we know if Hamas is left as a fighting force, they will regroup and they will attack us again. And that will be bad for Gazans. It'll be terrible for Israelis, and it'll be terrible for world peace as well. We need to get back to peace. We need to get back to the Abraham Accords, and we need to build a better future for the people of Gaza.
Okay, thank you so much. David Mencer, Israeli government spokesman. Thank you.
You're welcome, Stephanie. Thank you.